All right, guys, so it's time to cover some media reactions to the Jussie Smollett verdict, in which, if you guys don't know, and the only reason you wouldn't know is if you're living under a rock or if you're watching Reid and MSNBC, he was found guilty on 5 out of 6 counts of felony disorderly conduct for basically faking his own hate crime against himself. Now, this was big news when it happened, right? When it first happened, when Jussie first came out here and accused them fake MAGA hat wearing white supremacists of beating him up in the middle of the night on his way back from getting a Subway sandwich. The mainstream liberal media plus Democrat politicians went crazy, right? They went nuts, right? People like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, AOC, Reid, and even Don Lemon from the get-go chimed in on this to say that this is without a doubt a hate crime, right? What happened was homophobic and racist, and it must be condemned. It is also a symptom of the racism / homophobia problem going on in the U.S., right? And we should always believe the victim. Always believe the victim, even if the story sounds a little sketchy, right? Because the only MAGA hat wearing person in Chicago is Kanye West. But hey, listen, we gotta believe it because it's Jussie, right? He's a black man. We have to believe them. Wink, wink, Black Lives Matter. Always believe somebody because their skin color, regardless of whether or not it is obvious that they're lying, and never believe the police, right? So you would think that after Jussie was found guilty of faking this hate crime against himself, that the media, people like Don Lemon and Reid, would come out and react to it, right? They would give us a reaction, tell us what they really feel, and we're going to get into that. Now, first, we're going to start with Don Lemon, who hopped off the Jussie train a little early, right? He hopped off.
But I've also got to tell you, to be quite honest, that a lot of people, including people in the community, people of color and gay people, had questions about this from the very beginning, the veracity of this story. A lot of people were reasonably skeptical about Jussie's story. Some of the details just didn't seem to make sense. And as we always say around here, facts first. But the facts raised a lot of questions. So many questions. As I said, there were credible reasons to be skeptical of this. And there were a lot of people who were. Who's going to be out in the frigid cold streets of Chicago in the middle of the night looking for an Empire Star? You've got to be bundled up in that kind of cold. How would they even know it's you? And let's be honest, there are probably not a whole lot of MAGA fans.
When, even he was smart enough to figure out, like, hey, you know what? I don't necessarily think that this is true, okay? Now, Jussie implicated Don Lemon in his trial, basically accusing Don Lemon of texting him, telling him that the police did not believe his story. Now, this is a big deal because he's basically accusing Don Lemon of interfering with a law enforcement investigation. And the only way that Don Lemon would know that information, in my opinion, is if he used his resources at CNN to do so. Now, that's a big deal, right? That's a very serious allegation. And that's an allegation that possibly could get Don Lemon fired, a la Fredo, right? And what happened to him in regards to him using his resources, some probably at CNN, to defend his brother when it came to his allegations. So let's go ahead and listen to Don Lemon's response to this, as he actually sounds like he's probably very salty about what Jussie said, bringing on a lawyer that actually is one of the only lawyers that I've heard that said that Jussie might actually do some serious time, particularly for the lies that he told during the trial. Take a look.
They had to make up too many lies to why he didn't want to do certain things, or like to cover, like another lie, and that, I guess he got caught up in that because he took the stand himself. He got angry with the prosecutor as the prosecutor poked holes in his story, calling, only the only other witnesses liars. I mean, do you think that hurt him taking the stand?
It's devastating. Now, I get why he would, because of the fact that he's compelling and he can tell a story and he seems sincere and he seems as though, what he says should be believed and relied upon. unless you said something inconsistent prior, like right when you go on TV. I never took the noose off at all, but you said before that you really did. Just so many things. And so when you go onto the witness stand, and there's certain things, Don, that you can explain, but then you have to explain. But then you have to explain. And then how many things can you possibly explain? $3,500 check. It was for nutrition, nothing to see here. The $100 also, you know what? I don't know anything about these guys. I thought that they were, pale. They were white. I'm sorry, they're black. Just too many things. And I think when you really are on trial for telling a lie, and then you compound that by actually lying, it makes a judge who sits in judgment of you when you're sentenced really troubled. And that's the thing I think he's going to be facing here when he looks at a judge who has to pronounce sentence on what he actually was accused of and convicted of.
Here's what folks are concerned about, that what he did might undermine future victims, legitimate victims of hate crimes.
Look, I think that there's a few things a judge is going to look at. Now, when you look at sentencing, you always look at punishment, deterrence, rehabilitation.
Is he going
to
go to
prison? A judge has vast discretion. What's that?
Is he going to get prison time?
I think so, because he's facing 3 years. A judge can give him probation. But I think when a judge looks at all of those things, punishment, deterrence, you don't want people acting in this way. Hate crimes, you made it up. People really have hate crimes. You look at the issue of expending of resources. That's a problem. You get on the stand and you lie about it. And so I think the judge has to fashion a remedy appropriate not only to him, but to send the message to all others that you probably should not be doing this.
Joey Jackson. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Boy, Don Lemon is salty, right? Don Lemon is salty. He's a salty lemon. And I can 100% understand why, right? Because the things that Jussie accused him of, Don could potentially get in trouble for, right? So Don brings on a lawyer, right? Yeah, one of the only people I've seen that actually is saying that this man might actually do prison time for this, to say that, yeah, I think he's going to do prison time because, one, he wasted police resources, right? They could have been using those resources on other things. Instead, they were using it on him. And I believe that the cost of that was like over like $100,000 or something like that he spent on that. And then, he says that, because Jussie basically lied to the jury, right? Lied to the judge, lied in court. The judge has to consider that. And that's why this lawyer is concluding that, hey, you know what? I think he's going to get prison time. And I think that was music to Don Lemon's ears. I think it was music to his ears. Okay. And again, you notice Don basically called him a liar as well, too. And I can totally see why Don Lemon would want to do that and want to say that because of the allegations against him. So that's Don Lemon's response, which I found to be hilarious, considering the circumstances. Now, next we have Joy Reid, right? And you would think that because, Joy Reid came out here and again defended Jussie, okay, she would have something to say about that. So let's actually look at her show and see if she actually talked about this verdict at all.
We have a lot to get to in the next hour, including 2 legal setbacks for Donald Trump. Late today, a federal appeals court ruled against his effort to withhold documents from the January 6th committee. And the New York Attorney General is seeking a deposition from Trump early next month as part of her investigation into the Trump Organization. And we're going to get to both of those stories shortly. But we begin the readout tonight with something that's become abundantly clear. In the battle to save this American experiment with multiracial democracy, there is one party that's standing up for small d democracy, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and that is the Democratic Party. So you've been able to cover international radicalization movements and the domestic one here. Where do you see the sort of through points?
Well, listen, forget Mark Meadows for a second. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene.
You believe that Donald Trump will be indicted? Oh, okay. We're having some issues with Mr. Snell's audio, so we're going to come back to him. I'm going to go to you, Tim O'Brien.
White House Communications Office couldn't sell ice cream to children in July. I mean, this is one of the constant problems Democrats have. It's, here's this 14-point policy memo and blah, 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 and this percentage of that.
To take away the life force in some people, I notice. I mean, it does feminize people. No one ever says that, but it's true.
Okay, Tuckums Poo. Let's unpack your woman hating for just a bit. It's like textbook misogyny, this baseline retro variation where weak equates female, even though women, through a long, painful, and awe-inspiring process, are how lives are created and the reason the human race forges on. It is women who are the life force, not weak-chinned blokes who ditch their bow ties for fake log cabins.
Yeah, guys. So as you can see, Joy Reid, instead of covering the breaking news, right, of Jussie Smollett being found guilty, okay, of faking his own hate crime, right? Something that people like Joy Reid tried to prop up is 100% real, right? 100% believable. Okay, it shows how homophobic and racist America is. Again, she did not talk about it at all. In fact, none of MSDNC mentioned the Jussie Smollett trial at all. Not Rachel Maddow, not Chris Haynes, Joy Reid, none of them. Their whole lineup, none of them discussed it at all. None of them. Now, Joy Reid, she talked about the so-called attack on democracy, Trump, right? The Democrat Party, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, right? I mean, like, is anybody really surprised? Is anybody really surprised that Joy Reid completely ignored the Jussie Smollett verdict, right? I don't think anybody's surprised, but she actually did kind of talk about it, but on Twitter. What she did is that she played the whataboutism game instead of actually talking about it. As she quote tweeted, great point, to some random person tweeting, quote, if hashtag Jussie Smollett is being convicted of falsely reporting a hate crime, what about all the Karens who have made false claims to law enforcement and tried to weaponize the police against black men and women, putting their lives in danger? Again, you notice this picture here is all white people, right? Allegedly calling the police, on black folks, okay, unjustly, right? An issue that I think everybody agrees with is wrong, right? I think everybody agrees with that, the fact that you shouldn't be calling the police on people just for no reason, okay? Now, I'm a see something, say something type of person, but at the same time, it's like, most people would agree, if it's something that's super, super petty and you're not doing anything besides, I don't know, walking, right, or whatever, you really shouldn't be calling the police on, right? So her basically saying, great point to this, has literally been her only response to this whole Jussie Smollett thing, right? Which I find to be hilarious, how she's completely silent on the issue, and except to bring up some irrelevant whataboutism thing that really has nothing to do with Jussie, right? At all. Now, remember, guys, Joy Reid is the same person that had her own little run-ins when she was accused of being homophobic back in the day, back in like 2007, 2008, in which she had a blog in which she wrote a whole bunch of things that people define as homophobic, okay? And then when she got called out about it, she said, oh, my blog was hacked. It was hacked by somebody who is actually really homophobic. It wasn't me that wrote that, right? Even though everybody knew that she wrote it. And, Sean Hannity actually had to write a letter to her boss to help her keep her job, right? So Sean Hannity is responsible for this woman still having her job, a woman who refuses to cover breaking news that literally everybody's talking about, because she's embarrassed about the fact that she was wrong. But again, I'm not surprised at all that she completely ignored it. She has egg on her face right now. Because again, race hustlers like her, and I'll also throw Don Lemon in there, are a part of the mob in the media that tries to divide America when it comes to this stuff. And I think that Jussie Smollett bought into that, right? He bought into that. He tried to take advantage of it. And it ultimately ended up backfiring on him, which means that it ended up backfiring on Joy Reid and Don Lemon, who went along with it blindly simply because Jussie is probably her friend and he's black and she don't like the police. Okay? So again, this right here is hilarious to me. The fact that, again, Don Lemon bought on somebody to basically say that Jussie's going to jail, right? Going to prison, probably to his relief, while Joy Reid just completely doesn't even want to touch it. She don't even want to talk about it. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.